Welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. Hey Karuna, so cool to see you. So today I have a really special show. I had a great interview yesterday with a good one of the co-founders of Bitlectro, and it's a long interview, but it's really cool, and I totally hope you guys stick around for it. We also have a cool POAP for all of you guys, and it's a secret word, and I will put the link in the chat here, probably midway through, just to give you a heads up. The interview's a couple hours and we ramble on about all things crypto and their amazing project. They have builds in CryptoVoxels, Sandbox, Decentraland, and they're one of my favorite projects there. You'll check it out. Let's head over to Decentraland headquarters. So for those of you who chanting POAP, yeah. Usually POAP is all anyone wants, but hopefully they'll enjoy the interview that I have for them today. And yeah, Gabe is an OG crypto amazing person. I think he's badass, and so is everyone I've met of the Bitlectro crew has been amazing, super nice. And I also got to meet Jason, who I interviewed here on the show a while back. And here, let me show you real quick before we head into the interview. Show you guys the POAP of the day. Here is the POAP of the day. This is the episode number 23 for Decentraland Reporter. And for those of you who are new here, I usually do a lot of interviews on builders in the metaverse. I do cross-metaverse interviews as well with people in CryptoVoxels and Monaverse, which I'm a builder of, and Karuna, who's here in the just commenting, is also an amazing builder from Mona, and we actually do talk about Mona in this interview. We go all over the place. So that is the POAP, and here, hold on one second. If any of you guys want to check out, where is Decentraland? There you are, Decentraland. So I'm here live in Decentraland. That's my wearable right there, my first wearable that I'm wearing, and I love those wings. I just bought those. They're so cool. They're so big though that whenever I'm running around they sometimes get in the way, but they're really cool. So let me paste if anybody wants to check out the Decentraland Reporter headquarters, here is the coordinates for that. But since this interview is a long one, grab some popcorn, make some dinner, watch along. Here, let me switch a couple things up and I'll get the interview started here for you guys. And I hope there's some Bitlectro peeps here. I have about 6 dream loops and 3 dreamers, and actually this whole interview is also talking about their upcoming Avatar VX drop for the Sandbox, which is really cool. Okay, I did organize and then everything just kind of like disappears. Okay, here it is. Okay, let me hide some stuff. Let me get rid of this for a second, get rid of the POAP. Here is the interview with Gabe. Let me do a little bit of adjustments. Actually, I'm grabbing onto the wrong one. Here, this is the one I want to adjust a little bit, since he is the star of the show. Okay, let me pause the music and then we'll get started. And I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a blast. I thought the interview was going to be half an hour, 2 hours later. I think he had another meeting, but we probably could have still chatted. I hope to have him back on the show. He was really awesome to have on. Okay, let me find the video now. This is what happens with Twitch. Here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna hope you guys enjoy. And let me make sure the audio works on here. It might be a couple minutes, especially with Zoom and Twitch. Let's see if it goes.
No worries.
So welcome everyone for today's show. I have another awesome guest for you from Bitlectro. For those of you who have followed me for the past, this is my 23rd show here as Decentraland Reporter. I had Jason on previously where we talked about before their launch of the Dreamers, and now we're here to talk about some of the cool things happening with Dreamers, some of the airdrops. So I'm super excited. Gabe, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, let's jump into Decentraland here. I'm gonna share screen, and we're both hanging out here at DCL headquarters. Share screen. Cool. There it is.
I'm in.
Cool. Let me move my giant wings.
Now I get to see your view on here as well.
I
Yeah,
know.
those are giant wings that occlude
Yeah.
much of the screen.
Yeah, it does. Like half the time I was actually over at Samsung just had a one of their launch for their builds, and they have like a really cool gaming component where you have to do these quests. And I like the wings got so much in the way that I had to like take off the wings because I couldn't see where I
I
was
believe it.
going. It was pretty funny. So
Metaverse problems.
yeah, that's kind of half the fun in the metaverse. You're just it's always an experiment, and like I was telling you, like it's always Murphy's law. So we always get prepared for whatever the hell it comes our way, which is always fun. So one of the things I would love to start out with is usually every guest I have them share their rabbit hole journey into the space. And after reading your bio and that you're a PhD in cognitive psychology, I was like, damn, we could have a whole show focusing just on that. It's so fascinating, and I'm super fascinated specifically by cognitive flow, and it's like
Absolutely.
and also by creativity. And I'm also a big time mountain biker and flow state within
I saw that on your Twitter the other day. I'm
Oh
also a cyclist. I'm
man!
not. I do a lot of road cycling and
Oh
gravel
yeah!
cycling, looking to get into mountain biking one of these
Oh
days,
dude!
actually. But yeah, flow is definitely a huge thing in cycling.
Yep. I'm stoked. You're the second mountain biker that I've met in this space, and like, oh, or in cyclists in general. But like, yeah,
Yeah.
I actually work for the bike industry as my full time job. I work for a bike distributor, so I'm
Oh,
like
really?
full time, like love. And I was a downhill mountain bike coach for about 5 seasons.
Wow. That's a
So
crazy sport for those in the audience that don't know much about bicycle riding. Downhill scares the hell out of me. It's where you're basically doing these speed runs down treacherous mountain faces with fast turns and trees and rocks and lots of debutage. I have a friend that races downhill, and I think, oh man, I hope he's okay. Like I hope he doesn't
oh,
break a collarbone this weekend. That's always my thought. But
oh yeah, the collarbone. But I taught at a great bike park, and it's like it's so fun when you I get to I basically was the downhill mountain bike onboarder, pretty similar to the metaverse. It's like if you
yeah,
come into the sport, learn a few things, your time in the sport will be 1,000 times better. It's amazing how some instruction, and I took a bunch of instruction, bunch of bike clinics and stuff,
absolutely.
but lots of parallels there. But yeah, that's maybe another time we can have another interview with you talking about your research. I would love to hear more about
Sounds good.
that.
Anytime.
Awesome. Well, yeah, if you wouldn't mind sharing your rabbit hole journey into the space, that'd be
Ooh,
awesome.
okay. Let's see how far deep can I go? Actually,
Oh,
so part of my journey involves cycling as well.
oh, wicked.
So I am an OG crypto head, and I know a lot of people say, oh, I've been in this space for a long time. They say 2017, whatever. I've been trading crypto since 2013. I remember
Oh, wow.
reading a Wired magazine article on the dark web. I remember laying in bed one morning and thinking, like, what is this? Like, interesting. People are buying illicit goods, drugs, primarily on the internet. And I thought, well, what's this payment method? Like that was the fascinating thing about the article. So I started looking into it. I think, well, how do I get some of this? Like this is just an interesting thing. It uses asymmetric encryption or the same principles of asymmetric encryption to both secure the network, but to also serve as a wallet. And I remember closing the window, looking into how to buy it, and then not buying any because it required me to go to my bank and execute a wire transfer. Like you couldn't just easily KYC with like a Coinbase at the time. 6 months go by, I see another article. I finally say, okay, I'm going to go to my bank, execute a wire transfer. The clerk at my local credit union looked at me side-eyed, was wondering where I was sending this money, who this weird business name. The exchange at the time was Camp BX, which is now defunct, but they had no direct like ACH onboarding, offboarding. It was all wire transfer stuff. So you couldn't just connect an account or connect a checking account. So, which is excruciating. Plus, there's costs incurred with those types of wire transfers, and it is a black box while you wait for it to clear. So, I bought a Bitcoin. I think I bought a couple Bitcoins at $100, and I
Oh,
was trading.
wow.
And I think eventually I ended up losing them on an exchange hack, and then I just kept buying more, basically. You know, whether it was $1,000 or $400, and then I was getting into alts, and the cycling part of the story is a friend of mine who I'm actually going to talk to a little later today. We were out on a bicycle ride, And I said, and he was working in professional wealth management. We hadn't talked in several years. I said, well, have you heard of Bitcoin? I'm mining cryptocurrencies in my living room, not Bitcoin at the time, but I was mining script based cryptocurrencies out of milk crates with video cards attached to them in my living room at the time. I said, I'm mining these coins like Litecoin. This was actually pre Dogecoin, for example, in my living room. And he says, I got to come over after this ride and see what you're talking about because it just sounds crazy. He comes over. We're drinking some beers. I show him how it all works. 3 months later, he's quit his professional wealth management job and he's mining crypto and speculating full time. He starts managing a fund for us. We get into these like capital consolidation groups with friends and other enthusiasts. It's still super early. We're talking like now we're into like 2014, 2015. We bought into the Ethereum ICO, for example. Like I have a Genesis wallet to prove it. Like comes from block zero. Like we were playing with these things super early on. And finally, we said, well, let's launch a company around some of this. So in 2016, we were looking at like, what are some spaces in need of disruption where cryptocurrency could fill a void? And one of those was the cannabis industry. So we started a cannabis-focused payment token. It's called the Tokes platform, play on words there. And we started building point-of-sale apps, mobile wallets, integrating our payment systems into state reporting systems like Metric or BioTrack, which are required by certain legal jurisdictions for both financial and like quality of product reporting and the like. So we built this company. It pivoted into a host of sort of white labeled products that we rebranded and sold to other vendors and things like that. We even did some government affairs. We had a law changed in the state of Nevada that facilitated a pipeline for tax remittances to the state using digital currencies. You can actually look that up. It's Assembly Bill 466 from the 2019 legislative session in Nevada. Anyway, we were about to start on that program. Pandemic hits, kills the program we were working on. At that point, I left the company, not due to any disagreements or anything. I was actually looking to get back into academia and research. As you mentioned, I have a PhD in cognition, and I was finishing most of my PhD research in these early days of crypto. So I was a poor graduate student, basically speculating on high risk, potentially high return assets in hopes of finding a little bit of wealth for myself while living, in poverty finance conditions as a graduate assistant, basically. So I'm like doing full-time research, teaching at the university, and then in all my free time, I was pouring into cryptocurrency research, like, just scrolling through Bitcoin talk 6 hours a day, waiting for nodes to launch for the genesis of various blockchains, et cetera. Finally building this company, actually graduated in 2018 with my PhD, defended my dissertation. Anyway, still building the company. Pandemic hits. I'm looking to sort of pivot. We just had this huge win, this thing with the state that we won. I leave that company, Multi-Chain. They're still around. And pandemic hits, kills all my academic prospects. So I'm like many people, I'm at home, I was riding my bicycle a lot. And one morning, I'm about to go out for a ride. Again, goes back to cycling. And Jason calls me, and we'd known each other for a few months. Actually, we bonded through magic. He's a professional magician, which I have a great admiration for. I'm an amateur myself. Like I have a deck of cards sitting at my desk. I like the art, yeah, and I like the discipline of magic. And he says, Gabe, he says, I have a CryptoPunk. He says, I know you know cryptocurrency, obviously, having worked in this space for 5 years at that point, or 4 years at that point. Tell me how to sell it. And I said, first, I said, what's a CryptoPunk? Second, you've got like 5 minutes. It's a cold February. I want to get on my bike while the weather's good. So I'll give you the rudiments of what I know. And he says, oh, well, the CryptoPunk's an NFT. I said, oh, I remember NFTs. And I was thinking immediately back to the CryptoKitties of 2017, 2018 that sort of clogged the Ethereum network, that we were seeing gas problems when the CryptoKitties launched way back when. And so I get on the computer with him. An hour later, I'm still on the phone. I hadn't gone out for my ride, and we're like going through OpenSea and looking at the CryptoPunk centralized marketplace and weighing pros and cons of selling it versus not selling it. Long story short, he sold it. I think he made 15,000, it's a lot of money for someone that needed, money for their stage show as a magician, for example. Oh, yeah. anyway, but he bought the CryptoPunk for $20, so that was a heck of an ROI. And but from that conversation, I became sort of obsessed with NFTs. I was looking at this sort of nascent and growing space. Bought my first one. I think I bought a hash mask. That was my first
Oh,
NFT. In
nice.
fact, I'm certain of it. And then started playing with Top Shot, collecting. And then shortly after that early conversation, a close friend of mine from childhood, Keel Corcoran of the band Starfucker, popular indie band, we talked pretty regularly, still do, obviously, because we're working together. And I said, hey, I'm looking at NFTs. I know you trade crypto. Have you seen these? Also, if we were to make our own, what would you make? And he said, I want to do a music NFT. I said, let's do that. And what's the visual aspect? He says, well, in my free time, I draw pixel art. And I knew that. He's kind of a amateur historian of pixel art. Like, he actually has folders and folders of often defunct old PC and console games. Like, you can go on archive.org and find some of this stuff too, but there's tons of games from like PC platforms like the Amiga or the Commodore, even MS-DOS based
I
stuff.
played with all that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we still do in emulators when we could find it. And some of the artwork on these games is just beautiful. So he kind of tries to recreate a lot of that in his personal, hobby art practice. So he says, I'm going to draw these pixel scenes, and I'm going to take music that I've been working on. I'm going to convert it to chip tunes. Like, a lot of the music for our collection was composed in Ableton or various pieces of conventional studio production software. And then it was reprocessed through a modified NES cartridge. It's like, I think it's just called NES MIDI or something like that. So it actually produces the sounds that could have been created on NES. So that's where the Dream Loops collection was born. And I was kind of looking at NFTs, and a lot of them I didn't understand the utility. I still don't understand utility on a lot of stuff. And I said, well, let's do something a little more interesting here and make it so that there's a physical component to the Dream Loop. So 1 in 5 is actually redeemable, or 20% of the collection, for a physical album. So I have the vinyls here somewhere. I'm not going to get out of my chair for it.
I just claimed mine today.
Oh, did you?
I
did good.
I have a cassette, so I'm so
Perfect.
stoked.
That will get shipped out to you this week. That's cool. How long so that meant you held it for a very long time.
Yeah,
then.
I've had these forever. Like, Dreamers were some of the, well, not Dreamers, Dream Loops were some of the first, and I was so excited about, like, I love your technically, I don't even know the proper term, the unboxing, the unveiling, the environment that you guys have is just awesome, and it's so fun, and it's like, and I love the musical component, and then that's another thing I would love for you to talk about. Like, it's a Creative Commons license, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So not only is there like a physical album, and the songs on the physical are fun because they were produced just for the physical. So I know we're in Web3. We're in the digital space. There's actually full arrangements with collaborators from Keel's record label. And we made a point to never release these digitally. So the irony of the music on the album is that it comes from an NFT, but the only way to hear the full arrangements is to own the physical album.
I need a Walkman. Damn.
I had to get one on Amazon, like a funny USB cassette player, because even my like hi-fi, I collect vinyl. I own cassettes. In fact, I have a bunch of random cassettes on my desk, but I tend to not listen to the cassettes. I tend to just listen to the vinyl, but there's a lot of Bandcamp record labels that I like to support, like have these fun like vaporwave cassettes. And some of them just look beautiful. This one's got like a cat with cereal. I'm always waiting on some in the mail now. I have a few buddies that really collect them. So I had to buy a cassette myself. To your other point, so we grant a Creative Commons license. I think it's like is it CC BY-ND or something? Keel knows a little more about the licensing than I do. For the Dream Loops collection, as well as the Dreamers collection, which is the one right behind me. And that allows the user to basically use the music in commercial works. We have indie video games like those produced by GGDAO. They're using some of our songs. Crypto Novo uses one of our songs as his bumper music. A few other media personalities in the space have used our songs for various things, which is pretty cool. So that was one of the fun things we were playing with. BeaconBot uses our music for a lot of stuff. And so it's kind of neat. There are what is it, 100 melodies, or like I guess foreground elements to the music, and then 100 drum tracks or beat loops, producing 10,000 unique songs in the Dream Loops collection. So, but there are variations on the same theme, but owning one grants you commercial rights to use them. And the same thing goes for the Dreamers collection, which is a completely different set of music processed through a different sort of sound emulator. The sounds in the Dreamers collection are actually built to emulate the sound chip of the Sega Genesis. So, little known fact about both collections: the Dream Loops is comprised only of sounds that could have been produced by an NES, and the Dreamers is comprised of sounds that could actually be produced by Sega Genesis. So that was a long-winded story into the history
Oh,
of
I
it.
love
But
it.
fast forward, So fast forward through June, we get to October. We airdrop Dreamers to some of our Dream Loops holders. We sold a subset of the collection. Oh, awesome! And then now, which I'm excited about, which I've been busting my butt for the last few weeks. Actually, honestly, last few months, Keel's really been putting in most of the lifting. We did the VX collection. So all Dreamers holders get a free 3D representation of their character, a la the Dreamers VX collection, which is they're basically 3D models of the 2D Dreamers designed for use in the sandbox once that universe is live.
Let me open that up here. I have the
Cool.
website. I think it's
awesome.
Yeah, it'll make it a lot easier than, because actually my stream is airing tomorrow. If it's cool,
nice.
To be showing this. I moved the date.
Yeah.
It was during regular hours of work. I'm like, I can't do this. Like, take a super long lunch. I'm like, I'd rather be after hours. Then I can like more comfortably like. Here, let me make sure I'm sharing the right.
If you go to our Medium article, so if you click on news on the site,
okay,
and then go to I think more VX previews, that March 15 post.
Oh, that one's
keep
cool.
adding to that one. So that has a whole bunch of previews.
So what did you guys use to build this? Because I mean, that's a lot of.
I think it's VoxEdit, I believe.
VoxEdit.
So he had
I have heard of that. Okay.
Click the more VX previews bolded title, I believe, will take you into the page. So Keel built all of the elements out. So we basically had to build each shirt, head, face accessory, etc. All of that had to be, as well as like variations on features, all of that had to be sort of hand drawn. And there are, even though I think we tag like 100 and something characteristics across the Dreamers collection, there are a bunch of little micro variations that don't get expressed within the metadata, like the different eye shapes, ear shapes, mouth shapes, facial shapes. A lot of that is not tagged, but we still try to emulate or replicate that in the VX collection. So he drew all those elements, and then we programmatically basically combined them. That is, we had to write scripts to recreate all of the attributes one-to-one of the 2D collection. And then this is what it basically resulted in. And we've been doing a little fine-tuning here and there. There's a lot of fine tuning, and obviously he had to draw pants and shoes for each one. So the 2D collection does not include the lower half of the characters. Our initial idea was to make them all pantsless and have everyone running around in like tidy whities as a joke. Like, guess what? Your characters are just like your coworkers on Zoom. None of them are wearing pants. We opted not to, just for visual aesthetics, but we thought that would be a funny gag when we launched. And
oh, he's Tron. I just realized it's Tron guy. That's so wicked. I was like, why is this one oh yeah.
I think so legally we don't call him Tron. He's labeled as something else. We're trying, but yes, exactly. He inspired by Tron. Trying to we have lots of parody in our collection, which technically things all fall under parody coverage in terms of legal IP stuff, but there are those concerns, right? So I mean, and there's obvious inspiration there on that character. Some of our robots are inspired by other things wicked. As well.
I haven't seen the robot ones. I didn't get a robot one, but there's so many cool ones. I know I had to stop myself. I think I have 6 Dream Loops and I guess 3 Dreamers. And
nice.
Yeah. So I guess if every Dreamer gets their own VX version, correct?
Correct. Yeah. And the goal, like what I want to see, is we do monthly metaverse parties in crypto voxels, and they're well attended. We have a lot of fun, but I would say of the metaverses we can play today, and crypto voxels has a little bit of customizability, but it's not really great on like the character models. Like Decentraland is really good about wearables and modifying your character. And we think the sandbox is going to be as well based on their avatar system and the conversations we've had with their developers. So the goal is to then recreate our cool metaverse parties at our sandbox estate inside the sandbox once it's live and public, and have all of our community members show up as their dreamer
Yeah,
or dreamers.
that's gonna be wicked. That's what I was.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually, hopefully, it would be something that it could be interoperable and bring it into Decentraland, right?
Yeah, we've explored this too, right? CryptoVoxels has made public statements about wanting to change up their avatar system. If you're listening, anyone from CryptoVoxels, we have reached out via email, and we're trying to trying to move that discussion forward. Yeah, we are metaverse agnostic, despite throwing parties and CV, releasing a collection targeted for Sandbox. If we could make these interoperable with other systems, we will. At least to the extent that we have development hours. But a lot of that can be scripted, right? A model is a model. And if you can rig it appropriately for a universe,
exactly.
We're down to do it. Decentraland might be an interesting hurdle because of the fact that it's polygonal rather than voxel based. But as these are voxels, which are cubes, versus the geometry of polygons, which also, polygons have their pros too. It creates a real nice user experience.
Yeah, right? I just actually minted my first wearable. I created one and nice. Did it, and I'll definitely send you. I was like, Jason, I'll send you one too. I'll send you a wearable, and like that you can wear in Decentraland.
Please do. I have a small collection of Decentraland wearables. Would like to have more. We're planning to do a wearable drop with our physical merch drop, which I'm hoping comes by the end of this month. But I think we're going to airdrop. I think this is like secret alpha. We haven't been discussing this with our.
Do you want me to edit it out of this?
No, leave it in.
Okay,
but
cool.
The plan is to have another merch drop. So it'll be Dreamers focused merch and some Dreamers VX focused merch. But for all Dreamers holders, we're going to drop some DCL wearables into their wallets that emulate a couple pieces or a piece of the real world merch, but for DCL.
That would be wicked. Because I mean, that's one of the things I've been seeing in the metaverse a lot, in Decentraland specifically, is these communities building airdrops of wearables being their key token gating element into their VIP parties. So you guys are perfect for it. That's why I'm like, I want to go check out your party on multiple metaverses. You can start out in Decentraland, head to Sandbox, head over to CryptoVoxels, and do a cross metaverse party. And
it's not a bad idea, because we could just as soon, I know you can with Decentraland, obviously, we can embed the media into Decentraland. We could do it in CV. We think we could do it in Sandbox. So the Sandbox has been a little bit cagey about the curatorial components to what their metaverse is going to be. I know they have a bunch of big brands involved. So like having complete interoperability with all things might not make it family friendly. So I'm hoping we have the same latitude to embed our Twitch stream into our Sandbox parcel. My hunch is that we will, but that opens the possibility of just simulcasting across metaverses. And I think once the technology is there, it might you might have enough users that could actually accommodate such a thing. Like right now, we really bust our butts on promotion to cram them in at CryptoVoxels, and we tend to have good attendance. Thank you.
It's always like fun to. I love just checking out all the wearables. Some crazy funny. For me, half the fun is that. But I mean, of course, I love the music and everything that shows up. I have a question: have you checked out Metaverse?
I have not. No, I want to learn more about it, and I'm seeing it pop up.
I've built for the last 2 build-a-thons for them.
So tell me, where does one start in Metaverse? Like, what if I want to play or get in? What's my entry point right now?
So what I did is I jumped into their Discord, and also they have amazing tutorials. One of the top winners from the last build-a-thon was the Matt Empire. They hired him on, and he creates all these tutorials. So basically, I use Gravity Sketch, Blender, and Unity to build out whatever you want, and your limit is 180 megabytes, and your polygon is technically, like, I've pushed the limit to millions. I'm supposed to have 100,000 ideally, but like you can do anything. And you should, in terms of like, oh my god, seeing these, and they have right now Ready Player Me, avatars, and they're going to be able to eventually implement. They're going to have VR, and also you're going to be able to eventually design your own avatars. But I was thinking about you guys in there to create a crazy Bitlectro, and they've implemented the streaming is something added in there as well. You can do portals to different metaverses, connect to other platforms like you name it. So it's really, in terms of flexibility as a creator, it's the most amazing place I've experienced.
And this is Mona.gallery
Yeah,
is the product, right? I know there's
yeah.
some other Mona
And it's
labeled
free. You don't need
things.
to buy
Okay.
land. That's the best part.
Perfect.
You don't have to buy land, and you can mint it as an NFT. You can sell it or keep it, and then it's token gated too. So for
Oh,
you
that's great.
guys, yeah, it's an amazing team of builders, and it reminds me a lot of, like, now that I know you guys, you and Jason are just awesome, kind people, and that's how the Mona team is.
Thank you.
Spectacular and kind and super smart too. So it's like, it's great to be, and there, no matter what level, there's people there helping. And actually, I don't know if you've heard about IRL Gallery. I'm actually working with them. We got a huge grant through Decentraland, and we actually have a show right now in real life. They have an in real life gallery in Denver. I don't know if Jason checked it out when he was here. An NFT.
IRL.gallery, is this how
Yeah.
I find this? Nice.
Yeah, IRL art. But they've done a bunch of stuff. But we actually have a architect firm. He's part of the crew that I work with. We have a metaverse show right now happening up in their NFT gallery in Denver. They've been like the main art curators of ETH Denver for the past 4 years. They do a bunch of events, but I keep thinking of you guys because they've also built out in CryptoVoxel, Somnium Space, Mona.
And I see they've got links to all of them here. That's great.
But for you guys, it's great because, again, you don't have to buy the initial, like, do you have an extra 50 grand to buy a huge plot of land? Hell no.
Yeah, right. That's always a consideration, right? Can we spend minimum 5 figures to get into another space, right? It seems like and many teams have the working capital. Then there's always the question of, is that the best spend when we're also like engineering a DeFi product right now and trying to bring more value to the holders? So sometimes yes, sometimes no. But yeah, so anything that's free is certainly attractive. I'm also keeping tabs on Nifty Islands. Are you familiar with this one?
I haven't looked at that, but
that's worth checking out too.
Islands.
That's another one. Everyone gets a free island. Their builder is really impressive because they're approaching it from more of a gamer standpoint. So their builder reminds me a lot of a video game called Valheim, which is like a Viking game. But the builder, yeah, exactly. And they have a beta, which we got a nice demo of. It's good. It's a good product. They're a little under the radar, but it's really neat what they're doing. So
you guys are thinking
yet another metaverse.
Is it like you're saying? I'm sorry, I missed that part. You have to buy their NFT to get an island?
No. Okay. Everyone gets an island. They have like special avatars that you can buy, but same thing, free space. Anyone can build on their space and send people over. I think user count. I think they still have some sharding that they're doing. They're working on getting their user limit per island up last time we spoke, but I like what they're doing. Like, I'm of the opinion, right? Like, I hear this term thrown around only a little bit in Web3. You hear it more in like conventional tech discussions, like we're moving to a post-scarcity world with all of this digital stuff. And yet in Web3, we're often reimposing scarcity into a post-scarcity piece of technology. So I think, like, yeah, metaverses are cool, but you shouldn't have to spend 5 figures to build out a space. Like, there should be easy points of entry, which we're starting to see with a lot of these protocols, right? Whether it's Nifty Island or Monaverse, that's compelling to me.
And the best part is like the interactivity. I mean, you can use Animator and all the added functionality of like, my whole space is interactive. I mean, it's to me is where it's super powerful.
1 second, my headphones just turned off.
Okay,
there we go.
Oh,
I'm back. I think you'll have to apply an edit right here. These headphones have a mic in them, and if I let them idle too long, they turn off on their own. Sorry.
That's okay. No, I'm used to talking to myself.
Go ahead. Me too. Usually, yeah, all day actually. Sorry. Could you restate what you just
Oh,
said.
I'm already off in another land. No, another thing I wanted to let you know is that Goldie and XCopy just launched a metaverse via Mona as well. So check those
Oh, really?
out.
Okay.
Really sick, and they're actually built with different builders from the Buildathon. They're spectacular. So the functionality, interactivity, and token gating they've done is badass. So I
I
think
see
you
it on
might,
here.
yeah,
X copy art. Cool. They were at Super Chief. Nice.
that's
I
like a
missed
really
that.
cool. It's a really sick club. So that's how I see Bitlectro. Like all the events you guys have done, it's such a cool. I mean, I'm also part of a group in VR chat. They're amazing builders, and we do. There are a lot of like, people who are like actually there not for the cheesy crap going on there, but actually building and constructing world. And so it reminds me a lot of that. Like what's being done in Mona is a lot like VR chat, like the really people pushing the edge of what you can do in this world building and these amazing things I'm seeing as well in Mona. But I'm also stoked. I'm gonna definitely check out Nifty Island and see what's going on
Love
in
it.
there.
This is a nice like tour of all the different metaverse.
Yeah,
We've
yeah,
talked
yeah.
about
I
most of
know.
them. We haven't really talked about Somnium, but like I think we've gone through and touched on most of them. Like, yeah, and they all
Yes.
have their merits. Oh, the last one I'll just shout out just because we're here talking about various metaverses and their merits. Isotile is kind of doing some interesting stuff.
Ooh.
They're sort of an outlier because they're like an isometric, they almost look like the old Habbo universe, if you will, but they are an isometric based environment. You can have your own space for free, I believe. I think they
Okay.
only charge you if you want to change your avatar. They do curate what collections they integrate. They have been nice enough to integrate Dreamers and Dream Loops, as well as a number of other cool collections. But they're a neat one. We did an event in their isometric isotile universe, and it was cool. It went better than I thought, given how people often view like isometric projects as, oh, this is old school, this is retro, but yeah, we've got this new Web3 component in it. So yet another one.
Yeah, but that
Yeah.
sounds awesome. No, I love that style as well. I mean, I'm all about the retro. That's why I love this space. I'm like, it's all the retro stuff that
Yeah,
it's an excuse to dive into what I love anyway.
exactly.
Um,
Well, I think it's like it plays into like the competency of like what it takes to build some of this stuff. It's like, yeah, like I grew up, I was born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, and now I have this professional life and a skill set that enables me to do interesting things in a space and draw upon things from my history. So much of the space is built by people in my specific demographic. So of course, a lot of it's super retro, right? It's like the things that we really enjoyed about our youth, which is cool. Not to say I don't appreciate high poly stuff as well, but it's also nice to have experiences that you can like utilize in a web-based environment without having to have the fastest gaming PC, for example. So
no, for
it's neat.
sure. And the cool thing, Decentraland just launched a desktop client for PC. Hopefully, the Mac side is coming soon.
I have not tried the desktop client yet. I'm going to have to do that because
Yeah,
it's
there's
always nice to have that as an alternative. They tend to run smoother, right?
yeah, no. And another thing that I think I saw on the site, it says you're doing DeFi integration. Like, what exactly does that
Yeah.
look like?
So coming from a crypto background, like I saw all of these dexes, initially your decentralized exchanges come to power, and liquidity pools, and basically non-centralized way to both trade cryptocurrency as well as stake that cryptocurrency and earn interest, like whether it's dual-sided liquidity pools or single-sided staking, which you sometimes see. And a lot of the interesting protocols out there are good ways to make yield or interest on your token. So I use these day to day for my personal funds. And then one of my favorite NFT projects launched, it must have been, it's like April or May of last year. So they've probably been around a year, but the Avagachi.
Okay.
And the Avagachi sort of, people might say it's in the play to earn category. There's not much of a game there, but what is there is an NFT gated experience where you have an Avagachi, it's an NFT, but in order to birth or hatch this Avagachi out of its portal, which is the NFT that you mint when they have their mints, they call them haunts because the Avagachis are ghosts, and the haunting is when the portals are released. You actually have to stake a token into the Avagachi to release it or birth it from its portal. And then it becomes this interest bearing mechanism in the form of an NFT. They also have interesting mechanisms within their portal where you can just stake and then get tickets that allow you to enter raffles that give you wearables for your Avogacci. So it's this really interesting and fun ecosystem, but it also has a relatively stable token price. Like they've just like their ghost tokens just kind of been flat for a while, which is nice from like an interest bearing standpoint. I mean, it's always nice if it goes up, but what's also nice is when it doesn't go down. And a lot of these liquidity pools that you'll find in crypto, they pay you out in like their native token for the pool. The problem is that becomes an inflationary mechanism, and the price of the token that you're being paid in decreases in value over time. Thus, your interest or your notional USD value on your interest goes down. Avogacci has not been doing that because they built this really healthy token ecosystem. So this is a long-winded way of saying we're building something similar. So we are building an NFT gated experience, basically a DeFi protocol that integrates the dreamers into it. There will be tokenization. We're not committing to launching a native token yet. I have concerns there in terms of like securitization. Having issued tokens before at previous companies, I know the legal ramifications. So we're exploring that. We're also exploring piggybacking on another token that is integrating other ecosystem tokens into our network. It will be an L2. The working title for the project is the Dreamlands Battle Arena. So,
yeah, I have that right here. I was like, is that the Battle Arena? Woo!
Exactly. So Keel was actually in our chat sharing a few previews. So we've been parallel to the VX drop. We've been producing basically tens of thousands of sprite sheets for the Battle Arena. So think of like a DeFi platform like Avogacci. There's staking components. There's marketplace component. There's modifiers for the NFTs. The NFTs do certain things. Imagine attaching that to something like Zed Run. Zed Run is a horse racing game. If you're not familiar, where horses, which are NFTs, race against each other. I guess I'm more saying this for the edification of the audience. I assume you know.
Oh, no.
And
cool.
yeah, so imagine taking something like Zed Run, turning it into a one-on-one sort of game of chance, and then appending that to Avogacci. That's in a nutshell sort of what we're building. It's like a combination of a few products that we really like in the ecosystem. So that will be our next big lift. And we're targeting that for like Q3, Q4 of this year for both a private beta as well as at least like an early 1.0 MVP of what it is that we're building. But we have some of the frameworks in place for how that's going to work. We have most of the assets, at least for the MVP, are becoming close to done. There's always fine tuning there. And then very soon, we're hoping to have like a full UI UX preview of what the ecosystem is going to look like, which will also expose what the feature set is going to be, which will have tokenization components, character modifiers, and things like that. So I'm of the opinion when it comes to like building and iterating in both in tech and in Web3, like steal from the best, basically. Like I don't claim to have the best ideas, but what I do tend to have is a good working knowledge of what's going on in the ecosystem, such that we can take the best practices and best pieces of working platforms and build something new, perhaps with better art or better user experience, a musical components, a universe that we've constructed and have some control over in terms of the lore and the like. So that's what we're building in a nutshell, and that's kind of what I'm most excited to pivot into in the next few months, because we're obviously knocking out our roadmap items, the VX being a big one, and I can't wait to not only push that out the door so our users can have the VX characters, but also so that we can start really grinding and putting most of our focus on the battle arena component.
Yeah, that's another part that definitely last time we touched. I think there was like a section on here that showed that. I was trying to find the visual of that dream battle. Dreamlands
it's
battle
probably arena on the site. We have like a really early preview if you go to the collections page.
Okay, that's where I was.
So the battle itself. So imagine you've got your dreamer.
There it is. Okay.
This
is what I was looking for.
Yeah. And I'll describe what this is like. So essentially you've got two dreamers there, and this is sort of a simulated like series of attacks. Now this is sort of an isometric view from like 90s RPG games. Like this one's actually inspired by something called Shining Force. kind of similar to like a Final Fantasy or Chrono Trigger, except the characters, when they battle, they're isometric. So you see the back of one character and the front of another, sort of this
It's
weird,
cool.
weird, weird view, if you will. And so this won't be controlled in real time or even in a turn-based capacity by the player, but rather they'll wager an amount of token. The counterparty, if you will, also wagers that same amount of token. And then it generates a random sequence of events. We're using an oracle for this, likely Chainlink VRF, which is it's an L2 protocol where we can call Chainlink and get some sort of RNG, random number generation,
Nice.
which will determine the outcome of the battle. There are going to be some base traits for each character as a byproduct of their existing metadata traits. We've kind of discussed a little bit how that is. I will say a lot of good game design when it comes to like RPGs and various types of like turn-based combat tend to form in like triangles, like points of three, where you've got like a character X is strong against character Y but weak against character Z. So you can create these balances. So our three base species are the purples, blues, and greens, or the Lavendians, the Azulians, or the Zombos.
Oh, nice.
So that's our three trait trifecta. So one is going to be strong against another, but weak against the third. And then we also have our special character classes. We have the Doges, we have the cats, we have the aliens,
a cat.
we have the robots. There's species that I'm still missing. Like we kept it completely fair when we dropped. So like I didn't really pull any one of ones. I don't think I own a robot. I've tried to buy some back from some of our users, and they're like, I want 6 ETH. I'm like, oh, I don't have 6 ETH to give you for that robot, sir. So maybe we'll work on a trade later. But yeah, so, and then we'll have similar sort of balances for those other species or character bases. And additionally to that, there will be sort of a class system where like you're battling at like a lower ranking versus a higher ranking to keep it fair and competitive for even those characters that might not be perceived of as special or rare or unique, but there'll be modifiers. We have looked at how we integrate the dream loops into it. We have sort of a power up system that we want to devise there.
That would be wicked. I was just going to ask that. It's like,
yeah,
dream loop's going to be an extra bonus, like maybe a cool like feature or extra diamond or something.
Yeah, exactly. So we have handhelds too. The handhelds are also designed as a modifier in the game. So like the bowl of tomatoes, for some reason, which is a trait in the dream loops, has become a weird inside joke among our community. So there's likely to be a bowl of tomatoes attack. We have a purple drink. Yeah.
I don't have any. Like,
I don't have a tomato either. But Jason bragged to me the other day. He goes, I snagged a tomato off the market yesterday. I was like, no way. So yeah. So like these will have special modifiers. We'll also have other opportunities to modify the base characteristics. But basically, you're building like a character sheet with these modifiers, with the things you can pull off the marketplace in order to buff or alter the character in a specific way, which is then going to have influence over the turn-based combat. And we're basically,
that's cool. I like that.
Yeah. And we're developing, we have like the basic sprite sheets done for how the characters are going to behave. And it's sort of the same process, right? Where like Keo has to draw by hand hundreds of element attributes and then combine them. So the way a lot of classic video games work with sprite sheets is you have, like, let's say it's Mario, like on a side scrolling environment, right? Like there's so many different frames of Mario. And it's that the game basically knows when to pull each set of sprites, each individual frame from that character's sheet, if you will. So we have these sheets that have a whole bunch of different, it's basically a whole bunch of different static frames of what the character is going to be doing. And the nice thing about something like turn-based combat in, say, a game like Shining Force or Final Fantasy is that so much of the action occurs between the characters. So then what we do is we draw animations like a strike or something being thrown or a spell being cast, and that occurs in between, in that negative area where the action is happening. So you don't have to modify the base sprite sheet. You just modify things that go on top. So now we're working through like what are the different attacks or defenses and the like.
Yeah, and it gives you flexibility and ability to add all sorts of cool things that everyone's going to want to buy and have in their collection to fight.
Yeah, exactly. And
really
certain
cool.
characters will have them by default. Like if you've got if you've got a robot, there will be robot specific
I've got a
attacks. Or
skeleton. What does the skeleton do?
I have some ideas there. Like I'm thinking, I want to see like a bone
Bone.
being
Yeah.
thrown,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. I'm
throw as
like,
part
can
of
I throw my
his
bones?
arm. Yeah, exactly. That type of stuff. There will be interesting base attacks that definitely correspond to the character. Not to mention like the traits. Like so, we have like a cowboy hat here. I mean, maybe he pulls out a 6-shooter, for example, or has a maybe he has a lasso that he uses wrangling cattle. It could be something like that. So there's we're having a lot of fun brainstorming that. We have weekly game design meetings,
Oh,
but that's going
lucky.
to be those are fun. Yeah, we've got a good team. I mean, helps to play a lot of games too. Like most of our team, at least some of them, are gamers when they have the free time, and almost all of us played a lot of these
Yeah.
as kids. So it's helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, we're not really building a game per se because it is on Rails, but a lot of the mechanics are going to be very visually similar to a game. So there's gamified components without it actually being, what's the word? Without it being controlled in real time, if you will. So
Yeah.
it's a game on Rails. Yeah.
I mean, I could see you guys building a whole Motiverse to have game like tournaments of this, just broadcasting whatever gameplay, it would be
I'd
definitely.
love to. Yeah, we have like events planned around this too. Like because this looks like PvP. We also have like a PvE sort of thing where there'll be like a boss monthly where players can collectively play against this boss in individual
Oh,
sessions, and
cool.
then by defeating the boss as a community, there'll be some sort of reward, basically either in tokens or power ups or something along those lines. So if you're listening, Keel, I think leaked a few of the potential bosses in our Discord general chat today. He didn't say what they were. He just shared the screenshots. So we've been going over a few of these big bad boss characters over the last few days. Now that we've had some breathing room from the Dreamers VX, so that'll be illuminated
So
very
cool.
soon. Yeah, it's fun.
No, I'm excited. You guys have. I know there's. I always tell people about this project. A lot of them. Everyone has their personal favorite, and you guys are definitely been one of mine. I guess you were one of my first as well. But it's just
Thank
so
you.
cool to see the evolution of. I mean, you guys have again a great team and what you're doing. I can't wait. So, what is the time? You said what was the time frame for this one again? You said
Probably Q3, Q4
Q3.
of
Okay,
this
that's what
year.
I
Yeah,
thought you were saying.
it's a lot of the work has been done. That being said, there's a lot of this is reliant on smart contracts for
Yeah.
doing many of the actions. So not only do we need to write most of those, we also need to audit most of those and just make sure everything's rock solid. We know these things have value. So anytime you're tying NFTs to specific DeFi protocols or dealing with tokenomics or tokenization, we just need to make sure that it's bulletproof and also test a lot of the mechanics and the balances of what we're trying to build within the battle arena component. So we might, who knows, we might have an MVP inside of next quarter, but we need to make sure that it's rock solid before we actually bring it to prime time. But rest assured, like we're going to have an onboarding process for at least our more active community members to get access to the beta and help us break it. We want
Yeah.
to play test the crap out of it and make sure
I volunteer.
yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely get you on. We want people that are motivated and
Break
want to play
things.
through it. Yeah, yeah, and that'll be on a test net with some tokens that are not worth any particular monetary value, so we can all mess around and see who can be the monthly winner.
And you said you have crypto voxels that we can go check out today, right? Or did you find
We
that, or was
do.
okay? Awesome.
Oh, yeah, I didn't find our Decentraland portal. Our crypto voxel space is really easy to access. So we map a domain to our crypto voxels parcel. So you can just go to bitlectro.party
Okay.
and it will take you to the first floor of our 3-story
That's cool. I didn't know
metaverse
that.
parcel.
Okay, now
Yeah.
I'm. Oh wait, Bit Electro. Did I do it
Oh,
wrong?
you have an extra E.
Oh, well, there you go. See, I'm typing too fast.
Bitlectro. I should get that one too, though.
That one's actually pretty cool.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
There we go. Okay, there. I can copy this. So obviously during the stream, I'll share all these links. So anybody who's.
Excellent.
So this is this looks different than the last time that I've been here.
So we've changed
Oh.
parcels a few times. Like this is like the, I don't know, the third iteration of this. and we tend to restage it every time we have a new
Cool.
event or guest. So this one is now 3 stories, and the first floor we have this funny arcade complete with like classic
That's wicked.
pizza parlor carpeting, which Keel put in, which I think is
Dude, I grew
great.
up in that kind of stuff. This is like my
Me too.
this is
I
my
used
world.
Yeah, I used to go to this place in Vegas called Pistol Pete's Pizza. And we'd go there for birthdays, and they had cheap pizza. The parents would drink beer. And the carpet looked something like this. We'd play skee ball and random arcade stand-ups, begging our parents for quarters that would be
Oh
gone in
yeah.
seconds. And that was a good time. That was what everyone wanted to do when they were 9
That's
or
still what
10.
I want to do. There's
Yeah.
actually a place here in Boulder, like on Pearl Street, where it's like it's got like retro candy and modern candy, but in the back there's an arcade, like a full
Oh, that's
arcade.
great.
So you can go, and even during the time of COVID, we're like, screw it, there's no one coming here. We're okay. We're the only ones
Love
playing
it.
the video games.
Yeah.
So, oh, this looks tight. I love how you did. I haven't seen. Yeah, it's been a little while since I've been here. Look at that.
Yeah, so those are previews of the VX collection. So we
That's
took some
sick.
of the files and just inserted them basically as Vox files
Yeah.
within CV, and you can see the 2D counterpart of each of the characters. Yeah, Keel even there's a little smoke effect
I
on that one,
know. Look
which
at
is funny.
that,
I think
dude.
that's a GIF. I think so. He did a slightly transparent GIF and then just
Nice.
placed it in front of the cigarette, which was clever. Um, yeah. So
Oh,
this
I
is our
want this
sculpture
one.
gallery. Oh
Oh my
yeah,
god. I just
obviously inspired by classic IP.
yes, yes. I that was one of my favorite shows growing up. I mean, I grew up. I'm originally
Likewise.
from Venezuela, and all of these
Oh wow.
cartoons were in Spanish, so it was always a shock when I
Whoa.
came to the States, and I always thought they were like made in Venezuela. It's like, nope, these are all like actually originally most of them were Japanese, dubbed in
Yeah,
English, and then
yeah,
yeah, like
exactly. We're all getting the dialogue secondhand. It's
oh, is
yeah,
that you?
exactly.
There you are.
Oh, I am here. Let me am I standing right there? Yeah.
You're
Oh yes, I'm in
floating.
one of our
Oh, look at
I'm in our
that.
admin account. I have the skull head.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I need to get I have a wearable from IRL Gallery that we have a CryptoVoxels parcel, and he has a really cool 2001 exhibition up there. He built that, and he built some wearables around it. I still need to go. I don't even know how to put on wearables in CryptoVoxels.
It's a little tricky. You can now claim your name, I think, for free.
Ooh,
With just a little bit of gas. You used to have to pay the mainnet gas fees to claim your name. So I remember over the summer it was like, I don't know, $30 or $40 just to claim a name. I think I ended up giving my team members a little bit of ETH so each of them could grab their .eth name. But now it's a lot easier. And if you go, we don't have to run through it now, but you do have to go out of the space, and it's just on
okay.
the cryptovoxels.com. And then they have a whole character editor where you can take, you sort of have that model that looks like a sculptural model for an artist. You can change the colorways on your character model right here. And then additionally, you can apply a voxel file to
Nice.
any of the limbs. So like you could, like the skull I have for a head isn't by default a headpiece. It's just that
Okay.
I put it there and sized it there. You could put it at the torso level, or you could even
Oh,
run
nice.
around with it in your hand. So people do some pretty wild stuff. But
How do you fly
the
again? It's been a bit.
oh,
Nine?
it's
Is it nine?
F.
F. Okay, F.
Yeah, F, and then you hit the space to lift up, or just
I know that's
point
one
your
thing.
mouse
I
cursor
wish
down.
Decentraland had flying. That's what I love. CryptoVoxels. I just think it's like what you can do, and it's so much. It's so dreamlike, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly. It less bound into physical parameters. Decentraland feels very much like a recreation of 2D physical world, or sorry,
yeah,
3D physical worlds, but bound to the physics of our world versus this
yeah,
one where you can, we could jump out of the parcel and just go screaming
I
across
know.
the crypto voxel sky.
Or I know I remember the first time I came to CryptoVoxels, I got stuck in an ocean and was drowning, and you see these heads of
Oh,
people
no.
trying to save me, and like, hey, come up here, and I'd be like,
Oh
I
my
don't know what,
gosh.
but that's
I
like
don't
the
know how to
best.
float.
I
Yeah.
don't know how to, but it's like, look at this. I love. I mean, it's so funny because we were talking about that with some builders in DCL. They're like, yeah, that'd be great, but I'm sure there's a lot of people whose builds at the top they made it so you don't want to go up there because it's all not nice. But like,
Exactly.
you know what I mean?
You can hide the scaffolding that might
Yeah,
be in the
exactly.
works for your Decentraland build. Yeah, so I think we're actually violating. They have like height protocols for Decentral or for CryptoVoxels. So you're technically supposed to build within a bounded box. It's kind of like a frame, but you can violate it. You can violate a lot of the parameters of CryptoVoxels. So
Oh.
we actually built this 3-story, and it goes outside of the specifications of what we're supposed to do. We have to do a few dirty tricks to get it to work appropriately, basically. But um, yeah, I think, and you'll find most makers do similar things. In fact, if we look out the window over here, you can see this big green sort of island place
Yeah.
that has a Parthenon like structure on it. Um, that is not actually a parcel. Someone staged that in their own parcel, and then they changed the coordinates on the voxel
Oh.
files and pushed it out into the ocean. So it's still there. So CV's okay with it. And so far, like, despite people sort of violating the parameters, it's like the user experience has been fine. Like, so I don't see any reason to change it up, because everyone's kind of having fun by breaking the the parameters around some of this stuff. So
No.
it's pretty cool. We've got the parcel staged right now. We have the Warp Sound crew is doing a metaverse tour where they're streaming in different spaces, which I think
Nice.
is kind of fun. So I think they're coming here on the 6th, which is Wednesday. And so we staged the space with some of their assets in addition to ours, in support of what they're doing, which we're kind of excited about. Yeah.
I've heard of that. Like, can you? What is Warp Sound?
So they're neat. They're an audiovisual project. Each of these characters, so they've got, it's Narhart, Nomi, and I'm forgetting the third character's name. No, it's Naomi, Narhart, and Dragoon.
The art is
Like
really
that.
cool. I
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
art a lot. It's trippy.
exactly. So they are AI DJs. So in fact, they do these live streams on their Twitch,
Nice.
where the audience can send inputs, and it influences what the songs are going to be in real time, basically. So like,
Wow.
people vote on like some of the sonic qualities of what's being played, and they do these little mini DJ sets, which is pretty cool. It's AI generated mixing essentially, and we've hosted them in our space a few times, and they've been gracious guests, and they've got a really cool team. Shout out to Jeff over there. They're one of our favorite collaborators. Like, sometimes you just vibe with other people, and I really like what they're doing. Just good stuff. And I think they're even aiming to play or have their AI generated DJ sets in physical spaces. Like they did it. I don't think I have any special intel, but they did an EDC, like the big rave that is in Vegas in the spring. They did an EDC ticket giveaway recently, and there were rumors, inklings that they might have a presence at EDC in some capacity, which would be really cool, actually. Like the first AI DJ set inside of a inside of a real festival. Yeah, it's fun. It's really neat. I'm excited for them.
Yeah, one of the things
to life.
In DCL, the grant that we got, one of the builds we're doing is Sonic Bloom. It's a big outdoor electronic music festival here in Colorado. Nice. Like, the headlining is Tipper. I don't know if you know Tipper.
No, I'm not familiar.
Oh, he's sick. He's like just awesome electronic composers, musicians, and so we're recreating all of that in Decentraland.
Nice.
As well, so that's going to be pretty. And they're doing a bunch of art shows, in real life art shows there as well, and murals and all sorts of things. But that's so cool that I'm definitely going to look it up. So these graphics itself is actually something, or actually NFTs as well, or no? It's okay.
Yeah, so that's from their collection. Yeah, and I think I hosted these as just static images, but I think if you click on any single one, it takes you to their Warp Sound collection. The same for the Dreamers and the Dream Lips in the back of the parcel. Yeah, but those are basically their characters. Yeah.
So these are still. Oh, cool. So you just go to. It looks really cool.
Yeah, like, they're fun. They do good stuff, and I feel like it's one of these projects that's going to be around for a while. Like, their team is like just active in getting real world events and metaverse events and engaging with artists and creators. They do a great Twitter Spaces that focuses primarily on music over with Rug Radio, and it's a cool team. Yeah.
This is cool though. I love how, anybody who's watching the stream, you can watch. I need to still put up a lot of the old streams. I have them all backed up on my computer, but like I should put up your old one after this one, because it only lives on Twitch for a short while.
Right.
But I need to put
Right.
up the other one so people can look at how different your space are. Like you said, you change it up a lot.
Oh yeah, it's changed considerably. It's interesting. Jason's been having conversations with like record labels lately. Like we know we're still small. Like the metaverse is still, it hasn't reached that critical mass. Like we're still at less than 1 million users for OpenSea even, right? So then you look at like what percentage of NFT traders or Web3 users are utilizing metaverses. It's a fraction of that.
Yeah.
We have these parties and we kind of do reach critical mass in the space. And Jason's out there sort of taking conversations with teams that are metaverse curious, but often Web2 focused. And we're finding that there are a lot of parties, musicians, labels that are metaverse curious and are sort of reaching out to us to try to potentially have us host them in a party or an event, or they want to put one of their artists on one of our parties, which we've done with some really, really interesting characters like Cash Dami, this young rapper, did an album release at one point. Like I think the week the album dropped, he was like number 9 on Spotify. He breached the Billboard top 50, and he did a live set in our metaverse party for like, there was 200 people there, which is, for metaverse, that's a ton of people, but for a Billboard recording artist, it's not that many people. And so labels and artists are taking note. And I think, as everyone likes to say, we're early. That phrase gets redundant after a while, but it really is early, and we're still figuring out how we can best utilize a lot of these technologies. But I think events and musical integrations are one of the real novel ways to do it. Like you can enjoy some live entertainment, whether it's DJs, rappers, singer-songwriters, whatever, producers, and do it in a hyper visual kind of 3D environment virtually. It's safe. You don't have to leave your chair. You get your own selection of snacks and drinks at home, and you can enjoy the party. So it's kind of a fun thing. I think some people get it, some people don't, and that's okay. But we developed our fan base of diehards that comes in for every event and has a real good time.
Yeah, I've been to I think 5 or 6. I mean, I think way more than that. But you get every week goes by faster and faster. I'm sure you know the feeling. It's just like, this week I'm going to do all this. You're like, wait, it's Friday already? What the hell just happened?
Yeah. I'm already developing my to-do list for this week. Obviously, yeah. It's like start next week's to-do list starts 5 days prior. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, one of mine is to stage our event for this Friday. We've got the Warp Sound coming through on Wednesday, and then we have our Metaverse party. Yes. On April 8th. And
that's our focus.
Was it? I forget. Was that what we're supposed to talk about?
We're talking about the Dreamers. I want everyone to go. I'm going. That's already on my calendar.
Yeah. So we've got the Oni Force coming in on April 8th for our Metaverse party. That's at 4 p.m. Pacific, probably running till 8. We have too many DJs on this lineup. I have something like eight DJ sets, I think. Wow. Something like that. And we go for 4 hours. So I told Jason, I said, everyone's got to do a maximum of 30 minutes. Otherwise we're going to have to cut something, because I can't do a 5-hour Metaverse party. It's too much energy.
That's a lot.
It is. It's like, people don't see all the ephemera I have around me, but it's like 3 screens. I'm using the Metaverse party takes like 3 machines to run, because I'm importing like live visuals from one computer. I've got, mics, DJ equipment, you're coordinating sets. Then if you have like live guests, you drop-ins, you also have to, you're simulcasting, you're grabbing their stream, you're embedding it becomes this whole thing. So like the Metaverse party is an all-day event for me, not to mention staging the space. So that's going to be a big one. We're excited to have Oni in here. And I think they're doing, I can't say exactly what it is. They're doing some sort of interesting giveaway, wherein if you attend the party, you're going to get an NFT from the Oni. It's going to be like a free airdrop sort of thing, but that's one incentive to attend. And we always do our giveaways of the Dreamers and Dream Loops, at least a few that we like to share with our Metaverse party goers. So,
awesome. Yeah. That's exciting. I'm definitely. So that's also obvious. Is that when is the actual day of the airdrops of the VX?
So the VX, the VX claim starts the 9th. So okay, it is going to be a claim from a contract rather than an actual airdrop, just for gas purposes. But basically they have a cost of 0. So you just have to pay the gas fee to mint from the contract. We did spend a considerable amount of time optimizing the contract to make that as small as possible in terms of claim costs. But that'll start the 9th, probably midday here for us on the in North America anyway. Yeah, so probably targeting around lunchtime on Saturday, April 9th is the plan. So those will be out in the wild. And that'll be a separate collection, obviously. A lot of people are asking us, like, oh, is it just like you're just adding metadata to the 2D collection? Like, no, it'll be a unique NFT that is pointing to the metadata for the 3D character. And we've got it's got some other cool parts to it as well. Like it is, if you look at like the CyberKongs, for example,
Yeah.
They have an app. Like it's an app that's embedded inside of OpenSea. We've also built an app, so
Oh,
you'll be
wow.
able to spin the character, and
Nice.
because the characters are rigged to like a 3D sort of mocap body, if you will. There's different actions. She'll be able to select actions from the drop down menu in the app, both on OpenSea, and then we'll provide
That's
you a direct
sick.
link.
That's
And
awesome.
the character will walk, it'll eat. It does like a funny attack thing. It has a death animation. It's kind of funny the animations we included, and you'll be able to also select a different background for the character. We've provided like these sort of light boxes that do different things as well. So it's kind of cool. That's been a lot of the production process as well, not just creating the characters, but rigging them so that you can run through actions and then building the app around them. We're working on an AR experience as well. We have an MVP. I don't think it's going to launch April 9th, but it'll be like a bonus thing that we give to users where they'll be able to drop it using their phone's camera. They can drop the character and then film the camera
That's sick.
in their
That's so
environment.
cool.
So
That's going to be a lot of good user-generated content for you guys, right?
that's the hope, right? Yeah, we're working through it. We had hoped to have that done by April 9th, but it's like halfway there. Like it works well on Android. We're working through the iOS process right now. They have different standards for their AR stuff, but it's we have a way. Actually, it works on iOS, but it doesn't work as natively as I'd like, and I'm not going to put it into production unless it
Yeah.
works easily.
We
So
can wait
yeah,
for something good. I'm sure everybody's like
yeah,
me who's a fan. What about downloading the model file to create content with that? I think CloneX eventually will be able to do that. Like
yeah.
crypto avatars, have you seen that? I downloaded the
No,
VRM file. Polygonal Minds, they do it. It's their one of their companies. So I have like two avatars I bought through them. I can download and use it for VTubing.
nice.
That would be sick too, to be able to do that with the
Yeah,
character. I would VTube with my. It's another great way to promote Bitlectro.
that won't be hard. Yeah. So we have like it's funny, like it's often tricky to find the metadata associated with an NFT, right? So we ended up, people always ask us like, how do I get the song? I say, well, you have to log into our website and
Yeah,
there's a download
yeah,
button to get the song.
yeah,
Initially that wasn't there. We realized, oh, you have to like know where it is. Like an OpenSea
yeah,
doesn't make it readily transparent to get the music file. So we built that. That's a good idea. We should have a download button to directly
yeah.
download the 3D file. We're not opposed to that, obviously. Like once you own it, like do whatever the heck you want with it. So I think that I'll put that on my list of engineering checklists.
You're
Download
just
your
like,
3D
don't
file.
talk to these people anymore. They'll give us more to dos, man.
That's okay. That's an easy one. Yeah, download. I'm making a note here on
No, it's a
my
cool
notes
one. That I
file.
mean, look up crypto avatars. There and Polygonal Mind is one of my favorite. Like they do amazing builds in Decentraland, and the crypto avatars is just the same thing. You get it, and you have all the rights when you get it. It's not a music NFT, but you get this avatar that then you can use however you want.
This is cool. Yeah, I'm on the site right now. The IO.
Yeah,
Nice.
I bought two of them. One when it was way less. It's like definitely gone up over the last few months, but I have a kitty cat one and one of their pyramid original ones. So I have a weird pyramid creature, and their new site is like there's yeah, they have some cool stuff going on. They did Mega Cube. Did you see Mega Cube in Decentraland?
I
It's
don't
one of the
think so.
Oh, I'll send you a link to that. It's sick. It's like one of the biggest online interactive games ever in Decentraland. They're about to do Mega
Huh.
Cube 2. So as an artist, like I'll send you their PDF of the roadmap for it. I think you would appreciate it. It's sick, dude. It's like I want to be an artist, and like basically I have to give them $300 worth of NFTs, and it's going to be part of the mining. So they build this giant cube that people over a month mine, and you can get things. And then at the like there's
Wild.
huge prizes, and they do yeah, and they do all the amazing a lot of these great interactive games within Decentraland.
That's amazing. You have your finger to the pulse on all of these things. You're
But
like, have you
there's
seen
so
this? Have you seen this? I'm like, I
well,
haven't
not
seen half of
really,
these.
but
I'm
I haven't.
impressed.
No, you're the same. I'm like, I think there's so much that I feel like I'm missing out on, but I'm like, I just want to learn, and
Sure.
I'm focusing really on playing in Blender and doing builds because that's where you really get
Smart.
like sucked into understanding. I see what you're doing and I know the work. It's like this
Yeah.
is it's something people. It's I always encourage learn to build. Then when you go to places like this, you'll be like, damn, or learn do an event and you'll realize how much work what you do is because it's not. I've been part of a lot of events. It's a lot of freaking work.
It is. Yeah. It's getting easier,
Oh, that's
but
good.
it's a lot of it's like working through the requisite knowledge initially to do the things that we want to do.
Yeah.
And then eventually it's rinse and repeat, but it was like a lot of growing pains to get to the level of production quality we wanted for the metaverse events. But like, yeah, I encourage everyone to dive into, like, that's the other thing. Like there is, and I guess it's the same way with any hobby or piece of technology. Like there's varying levels of expertise and varying levels of engagement within the collector or user base. But the nice thing about a lot of Web3 stuff is that you can get your hands dirty. I mean, you can play even in like staging environments, for example. Like you don't have to have a Decentraland plot to play with the builder, for example.
Yeah,
It's like the
exactly.
same thing goes for Sandbox. You can play in Vox edit. You can make Vox files, and then you could have. There's actually,
You could
for
sell them.
example,
People sell them.
yeah, you could sell them. You
Yep.
can mint them. There's actually in CryptoVoxels, for example, there are sandbox parcels, no relation to the sandbox, but there are parcels that have the build function on for every user that goes to the space. So if you want to figure out how a Vox file looks in
Oh,
CryptoVoxels, for
sick.
example, or even build a structure, you can go to one of these sandbox parcels. So if you go, I think if you click on the map in the lower right, not that you have to do that right now, but there's a sandbox checkbox, and it'll show you all of the locations in CryptoVoxels where a
Of
user
course,
can
I'm
go
clicking there
and
now.
just play. Yeah, and that's fine. And it's like you can look under the hood of so much of this technology in a way that gives you a little insight into how it's done, or maybe even unlocks a career door for you if you can't
Yeah, no.
catch the
Woo.
bug.
Where exactly is it? No, I'm really
So let's
curious.
see. So
There's
I
so
think
much. I've never been into.
scroll. Can you scroll down on that list? Maybe
Oh, here.
let's see
Okay.
latest WAPs.
Oh.
Oh, I saw it. I did see it for a moment.
Oh, sandbox.
Sandbox at the bottom. Yeah, like so there's 86 sandbox parcels. So that I think if you click on any single one of
Okay,
those
let's check
and
this out now.
warp,
Okay.
yeah.
I have yours. Yours. Oh, see, I'm in the ocean again. This is my karma.
Oh, weird.
That's
That's
cool. I
funny.
got
It put you
sucked
down
into.
there. That one was a trap, apparently. So anyway, I think
Thanks.
if you float to the surface, I think you'll be
Here,
able
let me go
to.
here. I'll go here. Well, hopefully this one won't be a.
That's so weird. Here we go.
Okay.
Now, I believe
Free space. Oh no. Okay. No.
right
That's
click on something in that space.
okay.
Oh, maybe not. It could be adjacent. That's also possible. It also might be because you're not logged in.
Yeah. Yeah.
But generally, you go to one of these sandbox parcels, and then you can right click and you have edit functionality to
Oh,
basically
cool.
do whatever you want.
Yeah, I need to build
Um,
within here. That's one of the places I haven't built, but again, we have a parcel, so it's like a good excuse to go in there and start. So you're the one who's mainly in charge of swapping things out and
um, I swap out assets for our events. Keel
okay.
builds the superstructure. Like
Okay.
he's sort of he's my co-founder, but he's also like the de facto creative director. He's kind of he's one of these polymath math types that you give him a software development kit and you'll have it figured out in 16 hours. So
That's awesome.
um, he's a musician by trade. He was also a web developer in a previous life. He's a very good visual artist, and he's very adept at picking up new software suites and just figuring out how they work. So he's been good at standing up our crypto voxels parcel, for example, making sure that our new VX avatars work in the sandbox. Like we've actually already tested those in a local environment, and yes, like they are playable. So He's the one that explores all these new new software development environments for Web3 and make sure that we're working,
Well, you have a
which has
gem
been
there.
helpful.
You definitely
Yeah,
have a
it's great.
gem.
I mean, yeah, I mean, so much of this is contingent on him. We've got an interesting team with like varied backgrounds. Many creators, several engineers. Me, I'm more on like the project management side, but I also have deep crypto knowledge. I'm not an artist, for example, but I do get to surround myself with a whole bunch of really good artists, which has been great and helpful in this process. So
Yeah, you're an
yeah.
events manager. Everything you're saying is like you're a club manager.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I wear a dozen hats. Yeah, that's one of them, right? Absolutely.
I think I have my new one that I must have now. I have to have. I mean, I have to save up because this is definitely like I was saying earlier. There's
I
that's
think I know the owner of that one, and I don't do. We've talked. I know another person that wants to buy that, and it's like yeah, like good luck. I don't know if they'll ever sell it actually, but
yeah. I
we
wouldn't
hope
sell
so.
it
Yeah.
either. So there's only one of that one remotely like that
There's
one.
there's a couple. So we did
Okay.
color variations
Okay,
that
that's what I
are
thought. Okay.
completely out of palette. I think there might be there's at least three. There might be five. I don't know. I also don't know what's been unfrozen yet. I think
Oh, that's
because
true.
Keel drew the assets and then it's random. A lot of stuff has not been revealed. I do know what's in the full collection. We don't know what it's going to be unwrapped, for
Okay.
example, or unfrozen, for example. So, um, yeah, so there might only be. I guess I could pull it up on OpenSea. Now I'm curious. Let's
I know. Now you've got my
find
FOMO
out.
ignited. I'm like, can't spend any more money
Is
right
it?
now.
Yeah. The other thing is like
Thanks a lot.
even if they've been unfrozen. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No.
Do are they for sale? And let me
So does
see.
that one have an actual attribute you can look up? Like, or
Yeah. His name is obviously, or its name is not the
the actual? Yeah.
yeah, it's not the IP that it was inspired by. I'm trying to remember. Oh, I know how I can find it. So we go to species,
Okay.
then we can select robot, of which there are 46 revealed presently.
Okay.
Oof. Yep, I found his name. It's
So I
the
go
the
to
name is Super Robot.
Super Robot.
So if you go to yeah, so I'm on OpenSea.
Okay, if I go to OpenSea and I'm in the Bitlectro area here. No, but I don't think this is the right one. No, maybe it is.
So if you do Dreamers, it should autofill, and then name Super Robot. Okay, so there are 5 super robots revealed. So all 5 have been found.
Okay. Damn.
They are very expensive, and only one is
Oh.
for sale at 3.3 ETH.
No, that's not gonna
Yeah,
happen.
yeah. The robots are yeah.
Damn it. I was
I don't
hoping. I'm
think
like,
sometimes you get lucky. That yeah, it's interesting. Like we obviously do not have like the highest floor price, but what we do have is a healthy collector base
oh yeah.
that uh, knows what they have and routinely like the aliens go for higher valuations, the doges, the cats go for higher valuations, the apes, the robots, especially all of the one-on-one characters. Occasionally you'll see a skeleton at a lower price point because the skeletons are the most abundant of the non-humanoid characters,
Okay,
but
because I have a skeleton, one skeleton,
those are still coveted, but they're uh,
but I
easier
can't
to
get a
obtain than
robot.
some of the
No one's
others.
gonna trade me one a robot for.
You might find them. I look and see what I can snipe sometimes. Like I don't have a robot in my collection. Jason does. Jason was lucky to unfreeze one. Um,
Oh
right now the cheapest robot is I think zero point 0.8. Yeah,
yeah,
that's tough. Yeah, and
yeah.
that's a good one. There's a
That is
couple
good.
I want. There's a couple Blade Runner inspired characters that I've been
Ooh,
trying to buy from collectors, and
where are
that
those? Thanks
so
again. More.
yeah. So if you go to the robots, there's uh, a Roy Batty,
Oh, cool.
and a character inspired by Pris. So the two of the main replicants from the
Nice.
original Blade Runner. Yeah,
You're
yeah.
gonna you're gonna have to do. Where is it? Hold on. Let me see. Oh wait, right here. You're gonna have to do something with my favorite characters are White Tea and Hilo from You
from
got
Snow Crash. Oh, we have Hero. There's a Hero in the
what?
collection.
Oh,
Yeah,
why did you say? Why
yeah.
did I
His
even
name.
tell you that?
Yeah, it's Keel's take on Hero protagonist.
What
When
about
he's
YT? She's like the
we
badass.
we should have we only
Yeah,
did Hero. That's a good idea. Maybe she'll get an
that's
honorary one of these
that's who my
days.
character is in Decentraland. Really, she has a hoverboard, and I made a hoodie because I wanted it to be a hoodie she would wear, and that's my hoodie. You
Oh,
know,
that's awesome.
it's a bulletproof hoodie in my mind, and she would totally wear it with her hoverboard and go, you know, into the metaverse.
Right. Oh, you know what?
But what do I?
I'll have to offline. I'll show you Hero actually. There's a I don't think he's tagged as Hero, but there is a Hero protagonist in the collection
Here,
actually.
let
So
me go in here real quick. OpenSea. So then for some reason, oh God, I don't know why it's everything's. Maybe I have too many windows open. Let me close some stuff down. Everything's starting to run like, when it's like you're like, oh whoops,
you've
I
got
have like 20 windows, 50
three
windows.
metaverses open
Pretty
and four
much.
OpenSea instances. Exactly.
About
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the worst is when you have one Decentraland. Okay, I'm gonna close Decentraland. Look, this is the one that's probably killing everything. Okay, OpenSea. So anyone who's never collected one of these, watch out. They're addictive. I encourage you to dive in. Okay, Dreamers. It's funny. I first started because I wanted. I love the music part, and then all of it kind of like starts to suck you in a variety of
Right.
ways, especially when it came to the. Okay, where is this? So on here, let me make sure it's sharing and like. Okay, it's still on the right screen. So where is it that I filter? Is it filter? I search for a robot or no?
So yeah, so if you go to click the arrow on the left side where it has the
Okay. And then you go to background. Which one
go
is it?
to species.
Oh, species. That's what I couldn't. Okay. Where's species?
And then you'll find robot.
There it is. It's way at the bottom. I thought I was just missing something. I'm like, am I not looking at? Okay, robot. Did I pass it or? There it is. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. It's one of the lower
Oh,
number
look at all
ones.
these high numbers. There it is. That one right there, right?
Yep.
Damn.
That's the one that's for sale. And
Why?
the
Of course,
others
I
are
want
not
one of
yet
the
for
most
sale.
expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. I have
Like,
another friend that's always asking me about that. Like, dude, like it's not for sale. Someone else has it.
but you never know. I might just
Yeah.
bid on. Look at this one.
Yeah. So
0.99.
I have thrown offers at things and had some successful buys. Particularly for dreamers with handhelds. I bought a couple of those, just throwing offers
That's
at collectors.
cool.
But the robots that I want, specifically the replicants,
Yeah, look,
no
another one.
dice as of yet. I'm trying
Can
to
you
find this
see when
Hero one.
other people
I
bid
don't
on
think he's
something?
tagged, but he
Oh,
was
offers.
inspired.
It would show
Yeah,
offers. Yeah, okay. Active offers, right? Because they
exactly.
usually expire within. I want to see like the history of the one, like dorks. Ooh, there. Wait, isn't this right here?
That's Roy. So that's Roy
Yeah,
from Blade Runner.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I thought. I was like, wait a minute, I know that one.
yeah. That might be my favorite in the
That
collection.
one's
That and the
really
oh, and
cool.
then there's Deckard beneath him.
Yep.
The
So these are one of ones here, or no?
Yep. Yep. Those are just one of each of those in the collection. The robots, a lot of the robots have a few variants. Some do not. And there's obviously some other inspiration on this
This is
page.
where all the juicy bits. This is where if you have an extra 10 grand, you could do some real damage,
Yeah.
right? Like you
Yeah,
could like
I know.
come in and like sweep all the goodies and be like, just sit on it for 5 years and see what happens, and
Yep.
like playing your game. I'm sure these guys in one of ones are gonna be extra. They're
They will be
really cool.
powerful within the
Oh,
game.
damn. I'm like a total dork here. I'm gonna after our call, I'm gonna come back here and be like, why did he do this to me?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's a good problem. So, oh man, and all of these obviously, hold on, they all have their music. So let me click play and see if it plays. There it is. Can you actually hear the music when I play it, or no?
No,
Okay.
I do not hear it through our
Okay.
video
I'm
call
wondering
here.
if it is actually going to record it. Maybe not, but if those watching, just go there, you hit play, and each one of these has, like we've been talking about, the music.
They do have songs.
They do have songs. Makes
I'm
it
trying to find
cooler.
this hero one for you. Actually, I'll send you a link with them. He might be mislabeled, or he may not have a specific one label, but he was inspired
I want that
by
one.
Hero of Snow
Oh,
Crash.
look, another right here, Snow Crash, right? And not Snow Crash.
Oh,
Blade Runner.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, that's Pris. Yeah, the
yeah. So Robot Search is the one that has all the cool stuff, other than
so
Hero.
there's other. So if you go, you can unclick Robot, and you can click. I think it's a named category or matched. So there's a lot of them that have specific names that we made up for the for the collection, and those are also unique, often one of ones.
This one's Matrix right here. Looks Matrixy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a few Matrix inspired things. Go to the left side. Okay. Scroll down.
Okay.
Click do matched outfit. That's a good place to start. And hit yes. So that's only 226 units.
Yeah, look at all these cool ones. Ooh, there's Hannibal.
Yeah.
There's some cool ones in this. Oh, look at that mushroom guy. That's awesome. What does he look like? Just so I know what the...
I'm going to find him for you here. I'm trying to go through some of our assets and then figure out a token ID that's been revealed. Yeah. Let's see.
Are there still some... Okay, where's... I guess there's a... what percentage have been unrevealed?
So that you can determine if you go to element on the left side. It's the only element tag.
Frozen.
Yeah, so 3,000. Yeah, 3,000 still frozen. So let's see, 14,000 been claimed. So yeah, so about less than 20%. So probably about 17% or so. But that's so there's still a whole bunch of characters that might be one of ones, might be robots, might be aliens that have not yet been revealed.
That's cool. Yeah, this is where the addiction starts. This is where the fun is. You're like, any kind of reveal is always fun. You never know.
Yeah.
It's like with my Clone X, I didn't save it. I just wanted to open it up, and then later I'm like, oh my god, how much the bales are going for the vials.
Right.
But I'm keeping it. Just the airdrops alone are insane,
Agreed. Yeah, I think some of those projects, if you're lucky enough to get in at those early valuations, they're just things you hang on to, because then you get all of these free things over time, basically. Which is exciting.
Just like this project, all the fun stuff I've already gotten. I'm like, I was never a lot of these. I don't think I've sold only a couple. I did collective.gg. Have you heard of that?
I'm not familiar. No.
They did the Top Shots, whatever.
Oh yes. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
This group right here. So this is their... I sold most of them. I kept two that I really like. So I kept the A Lot of Money one, which is sick, and this Space Junk. They're
smart.
My two in the collection, because he's amazing, and unfortunately he passed recently, actually.
Oh no, really?
He's like a really OG, awesome artist, and this is, I'm definitely not getting rid of it. And it's just
that's
really
cool work. Good
right?
3D work. Yeah, is that what's his name?
A Lot of Money, right here at the bottom.
Who? But the character in the scene.
Monty
I think
Python.
that's what I thought. Right, exactly.
Yeah, a lot of his stuff, he's like a definite jester. He's hilarious. A Lot of Money is known by a lot of OG artists for just his great energy and just
I love it. Very cool.
There's so much, right? It's just this alone, I could spend another couple thousand if I had it.
I still look through the collection and find traits that I don't have, and then I buy them. The other day, I was like, I don't have a cigarette, and I bought it, and I realized, I already do have a cigarette, but I bought it anyway. I bought a skeleton yesterday. I'm still one of the biggest collectors of our own project.
That's good though. That shows if you guys didn't collect, then it'd be wait a minute,
Yeah. and plus you have to collect what you like. Like
Exactly.
we couldn't put our stamp on a collection that we didn't like ourselves. Like there's so much of all of our team members in this too, in terms of like traits. A lot of it's there is some homage and lip service to other collections. Like we included certain hats and features that we saw in other collections that we like, but then we also have a lot of inspiration from things that we like personally.
Yeah.
I just sent you a link. You can see this is supposed to be Hero. He did not get a naming tag in the collection, but his whole wardrobe is supposed to be
Did you
inspired
know
by
that
Hero
I
from
heard
Snow
around
Crash.
on the rumor that they're actually making it finally?
The film version.
Yeah.
I know it always pops up in the Wikipedia article, like whether or not it's still in
If
production
it's
hell.
true.
So yeah, oh
Oh,
man,
sick.
I'm
Okay.
almost afraid of I don't
What
know
they'll
if you
do
saw
to
my
it.
Discord DM. Yeah, so that's supposed to be
That's
Hero.
sick.
And yeah, there's a couple of him in the collection actually. So
I like how
yeah.
he has a little pizza hanging out because he's a pizza
Yeah,
delivery man.
exactly. Yes,
You
that
have
was
to really know. I mean, like
yeah.
that's why YT. I'm like, where's YT?
We
I
should
would definitely. You have to do something with her
I think you're right. I think maybe
because
next
she's the
run if we get
unsung
another
hero
crack.
that's so critical. And also that other
Agreed.
character, who's the one who has that crazy sick giant automobile that like he's what's his name?
Not
Sheesh.
the is it the are we talking is it the Alaskan character? The or
He's the one who's in he has that crazy rover machine that that's where they get the actual sample of Snow Crash for the first time. She's with him.
I have to look. I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know.
I forget his name, but anyway, like he would be cool too. Just his car or like some kind of really crazy element of
List of
like
characters. Now I'm going through here. It's not Bob Rife, obviously. Who's got? Let's see. All right, I'll research this.
yeah, we'll have
Afterwards.
to. I know.
Yeah,
Like, how many rabbit holes
I,
did you go down? A lot.
exactly. I need to reread this. I actually started rereading Snow Crash recently.
No, I am too. I'm in the
Yeah,
middle of again. I'm like almost, but I have so many books I'm in the middle of. I'm terrible depending on my mood. And it's like, but this is one it's so cool to reread it. And like, I read it when it first came out. So it's so different reading it now. Like,
yeah. I was only a few years after. I think I was like a freshman or sophomore in college
yeah,
reading it, and it had been
yeah,
out for a few years at that
yeah,
point.
me too.
And it was so revelatory. Just because it's the first couple chapters are they feel so superfluous with like the pizza delivery stuff and the robot dog, and then it gets into like deep discussions of linguistics, and there's almost like implicitly like the discussion of memetics and like this notion of a mind virus, like in
Yep.
which you kind of
That's
see in the book. And we're now dealing with some of that. Obviously they cloned some of the metaverse ideas and terminology there. Shout out to Neil Stevenson. Yeah, just a completely revelatory novel.
I really love Diamond Age too. Have you read Diamond Age?
And not everyone says you have to read Diamond Age.
I almost
I
like
have
it.
not.
I mean, I love Snow Crash, but Diamond Age is the same. It's just as like prophetic, like that's a word, whatever. Like character in that, and what the technology they're using is what we're using now. It's the iPad. It's all the things that we take for granted, and it's brilliant. I think you'd really enjoy Diamond Age. I've read that one already like 3 times over the years, just because it's just a fun, and just how he goes off into these random, beautiful topics of like you're saying linguistics in this one and that one. Just like he's Mr. Rabbit Hole for sure.
Yeah, I mean that it tells you like the I guess I don't know what you want to call it, like the level of background that he likely does,
Yes.
prior to writing some of these books. You could tell that there's a lot of research that goes into
there's a Google, and like a Google Talks. He's at one of the Google Talks talking about the research. Like, yeah, it's really cool. I always look up because there's not much in terms of him and videos, but like there's some cool ones that he's done, and he talks exactly just about that. That all the Googleites were asking, like, what about the research? What about right? Because it's
so. I always compare Snow Crash to Neuromancer. It's like they're both these like key pieces of like cyberpunk prophetic literature, and Snow Crash is very it's denser and it's much longer, but Snow Crash has all of that rich world building and background that Neuromancer lacks. Like Neuromancer reads almost like an action film to me, and it plays with some some bigger concepts about artificial intelligence and how we relate in the digital age. It's also very like what's the word, high tech, low brow. Like there's drugs and junkies and burnouts, but then they're also jacking into the net. And Snow Crash, similar world building, but with so much more detail, almost to a point where like Snow Crash is less approachable to some people just because of the density of the work. Yeah, but I would recommend both. Yeah,
that's a good point, because it's definitely one of those things like if I haven't read it for a week, I have to kind of go back a couple pages just to like get back into like, and then you really an hour later you're like, whoa, where was I? I love books where you're like instantly in that dimension. And
exactly. What are we talking about? This is like talking about the Tower of Babel and
exactly.
And,
I love
history
that.
of languages here. Like
I want a robot like that can tell me I'm interested. It's kind of like what we do anyway. Me basically when I'm reading books, I have like Google Earth opened up. I'm reading a book about Tibet right now, and it's about this Lama who was there in the 1940s. But every time he mentions a place, I'm like instantly go Google Earth to see visually where he is, and it's like just
nice.
that kind of like in Snow Crash, a lot of the topics and being a world builder, a lot of it I can see it visually more now. And I'm sure you, it's like with your background, like that's one thing that I find really fascinating. When I first created my first build in Monaverse, like my first little test, I swear my dreams and my reality, just things started to shift, and I started things in your brain. Like I just felt like I would have visions of like worlds in a way that, I mean, I've always had crazy experiences like that, but like it's just in a whole nother light where like, no, I actually now have an understanding of where these tools are available, what it could create, and things just, it's fascinating.
Well, in line with that, and the way, at least a lot of the memory research that we look at in cognition, there's an idea called situation models, and a lot of our memories are bound to sort of, they're like mental video replays in situation models. They have spatial components, right? It's not like we're watching a two-dimensional movie where we're replaying a memory. We're playing through it spatially. There are spatial components to it. There's all sorts of features. There's auditory features, there's temporal features, visual, auditory, haptic, touch in some instances, smell, even though olfaction is one of the trickier features of memory to lock down. But within a situation model, you can just as soon recreate that in a virtual environment, right? Like if you're moving through a space, you're also encoding the spatial components to that virtual experience in a way that in your memory is encoding it very similarly to if you are actually physically moving through the space. So you think about like your recall and the way like retrieval queues work in a virtual environment, very similar to IRL environments. And then another piece of evidence for this, and like how the richness that you can create in a virtual world, or a world that doesn't exist, or a world that you imagine, is one of the techniques that's used by super memorizers. So there's actually memory competitions that
I have memory books here.
So you're probably familiar with this idea of like the mind palace, where you construct this environment and you use this to become really good at memorizing, like maybe a speech, or maybe just like a serial sequence of numbers, or like the order of a deck of playing cards. They use this for all these competitions. But the fact that you can spatially code a virtual or imagined environment with the same rich or depth that you have with a real world environment is like a testament to like how these virtual spaces become very real in our experience of them. And having dreams about virtual spaces that you built or constructed in the metaverse shouldn't be any surprise, given the way human memory works with this stuff. So just wild. I think about, like, there's video games that I still remember, like, the map placement for the video game from 20 years ago, because you played through it. Well, the encoding for that, like I can't differentiate, neuronally, the mappings, on my neural networks of a virtual space versus an IRL one. They're experientially very similar when I'm recalling them from memory. So it's just bizarre stuff. And so much of that is still unknown, but we have a lot of guideposts to how it works. So fascinating stuff.
Yeah, we'll have to have you back on. I want you just to listen to you talk about that for hours on it, and then we can ask you questions. So what about
I can ramble. A lot of it'll be off the cuff, be like, well, I don't actually know, and I don't know that the memory researchers know, but this is how I think it works.
Yeah. That's
I used to
fascinating.
teach cognition at the college level. I taught a number of courses, but research methods as well as for behavioral sciences as well as cognitive psychology, and cognitive topics are really fun to talk about because a lot of both cognition and cognitive neuroscience research, it's about feeding inputs into a human and watching the behavioral outputs, and then sometimes having some neuroimaging data to back up your the conclusions that you draw, the theories that you derive from the data. But it is often, it's this black box wherein inputs come in, sensory inputs come in, perceptions happen, cognitions happen, various systems are engaged, and then we result in a behavioral byproduct. So then the question is, what can we infer about the structure of these systems from the inputs that we entered and the behaviors that we received? So a lot of it's inferential, but it points to some really unique features and things, the type of both the type of mistakes that we make when we're thinking and moving through the world, but also the depth of specialized knowledge and things that we can do with high precision and speed. So we're
Yep.
both these
Yep.
wonderful computers, but then we're also seemingly broken at times with a lot of the a lot of the decisions we make. My research often focused on topics in behavioral economics, which deals with decisions and behaviors people make when facing risk, which has a
Mm.
lot to do with what we do in crypto and
Oh,
Web
hell
three,
yeah.
and so much of it is ultimately suboptimal. Like we we make a lot of mistakes where we use a lot of heuristics and shortcuts to make it through the day, and often they are very suboptimal. And knowledge of the mistakes we make doesn't make you immune to them either. I'm still over here steeped in hindsight bias for bad trades that I make, or wishing I'd held longer or bought more. And I know the types of mistakes I'm making there, the errors in thinking, and I do them anyway. And so it's a funny thing. But sometimes it helps you, but other times it's just a tool for pointing out the mistakes that you've already made.
No, for sure. I mean, that's part of the learning process in this. A lot of times I jump into things I had no idea. I'd never used Unity. All the stuff I've done, it's like I dive into the deep end and I try to swim, even if it's one pinky. And that's where, I mean, the ideas, that's where things happen, right? If you stay with your blinders and that's all you're allowed to enter your system, that's all you're going to, the output's only going to be the exact same thing. So it's always
It's
like,
true.
might as well jump in, go off a cliff, mountain bike, like go to nature. I mean, for me, it's all about just I need to be outside, but also just that like trying to always, I mean, I love learning. I used to work at a place called the Academy for the Love of Learning, and all that
Nice.
everything that you're saying is like, yep, that's I have 50 books there, and it's all along those lines of like pushing yourself, and you will make mistakes, and that's why
Absolutely.
that's what this journey is in here, and that's what I love about it. It's just like I don't know if I told you, but for about 15, 20 years I taught STEM programs. So I taught
Oh,
digital media
cool.
arts. So I've always been
Nice.
around this stuff,
Good on
but
you.
only really jumped in, and I did hear about it back in the day when you got into it, but I just still didn't know. I wasn't as brave as you were. I was like, I should have, damn it. But it's always, for me, I'm so used to being the black sheep. I've worked in a lot of visual arts centers where I was the black sheep of the art family. I did silk screening, which was the black sheep of art in terms of serigraphs. It's like, oh, you're just silk screening. And I did digital arts, which was never considered art.
Right.
I
Sure.
was like, but I was always like, this is the coolest shit ever, and like it's interesting to see things like transform and morph over the years, and what's happening now is just so awesome. So I'm like,
Absolutely.
hell
Yeah,
yeah.
and I'd agree with your point there. Yeah, it's like we have these habits and habitual strings of behavior that we run through over and over, and I feel like you have to deviate to some degree or put yourself in environments where you're letting your mind take a break from those habituated things to come up with new ideas. Like you mentioned bicycle riding, like I have some of my best ideas when I'm
Yep,
out
me
on a
too. That's
bicycle. So it gets you out of the habits at home behind the computer, and you end up in a flow state, and you
yep.
maybe work through a problem that you weren't even consciously thinking about while you were pedaling, and you have an aha moment, and then you could take that back to your working life. Yeah, I mean that's, I think there's a lot of wisdom in like the old philosophers that would say like, yeah, I go out for a walk to think through problems or to get away from working through the problems. And then you have a eureka moment once you step away from it, because you've sort of short circuited a lot of the habituated pathways you took to get you there in the first place. But
No, for
yeah,
sure. And it's healthy. Just, make sure you're keeping a balance between that FOMO that sinks in, or and just like in learning, because there's so many things once you get into this, like that I feel like I'm always like the least knowledgeable person in the room, but I think that's a good place, right? Like it's a good place to be around like
I agree.
brilliant geniuses like, like you. Like it's just like I see what's possible, what you guys are creating, like the amount of work. It's like I'm just in awe. I don't think that's why I love presenting what people, the builders and the creators, and so people see like the amount of work. It isn't just these pictures that just show up. It's like, no,
Right.
this is a massive. And I know people wanting to come into the space and they think, oh, I'm just gonna drop a thing, and it's like, oh no, that's there's so much that goes into creating a project that's successful for the community, for you guys. I'm sure you guys are just like me. You love and you're passionate, and it's just it kind of feeds yourself. It's just like the cycle of like the more you give, the more you get back, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And to your point about surrounding yourself with people more knowledgeable, I always say, if to friends, especially, I say, if you're the smartest person in the room, it's time to find another room. Like
Exactly.
you're in the wrong room. Like that's where you start to impede growth if you're always the knowledge expert. So time to find new crew.
I don't think I've ever been, even as a teacher, I don't think I would always be like, dude, I'm just a facilitator. Or like my dad used to say, I'm the sage on the stage. Not, I'm not the, what is it? I'm not the sage on the stage, but the guide on the side.
There we go. I like it.
Right? It's,
That's the Zen mind, beginner's mind approach, right? It's like
yeah.
maybe you were the expert, but maybe you just have some modesty about your knowledge base. It keeps you open to absorbing new information and learning, right?
Yep. Well, this has been amazing. I'm like, how many hours later? Like,
Yeah, we're
I'm
moving.
so great.
I've got a
I'm so
2 o'clock I
grateful.
have to run
I
for,
know.
but
I figured
it's
I
a
was
fun
like,
conversation.
I know. I feel bad that I've taken, but thank you. It's been
Don't feel
wonderful. And,
bad. That
and
was great.
that was great. And okay, save it to make sure that we have double backup here. Hopefully we get this. If not, it was great anyway.
Much thanks. Do I pause it right now, or do we? How do
Okay,
I do this?
let's see this. I think I can stop share, and I think I can. Well, thank you guys. Let me let me. I have like two computers here. Let me go back to for those of you who have not got the POAP yet, I put the link in the chat, and I hope you guys all get your POAP to commemorate this 23rd show here. This is the POAP here that I just placed up in the upper right corner. And here, let me paste it one more time if you just came in here. It's a Google form. Just put your ETH address or email and I'll send it to you. I only have about, I think, like 24, 25, but every show I try to do a POAP whenever POAP actually lets me. Um, let's see. Whoa, what's the word? I'm so sorry. Dreamers. Let me write it down. Dreamers is the special word. So put in dreamers for to commemorate the awesome having Gabe on here. He's amazing, and it's great because I just interviewed him yesterday, so today's like the premiere of this, and listening to it again has been, there's so many cool moments in there that he shared, and I definitely hope to have him back on um to talk about more of like the, just so much more actually. And also be sure you guys, here, hold on a second, and go to just chatting. Be sure you guys to check out the event on Friday at Bitlectro, which is their launch of their VX project for Dreamers. And yeah, I got to meet Jason, I think I said that earlier, at the ETH Denver, and it was such a fun, he's such a great guy, and he's another one of their team members. But he reached out and said wanted to have Gabe on the show, and I'm so stoked. Thank you, Jason, for bringing him, telling him about the show, and I can't wait to see where this project leads, and I can't wait for the game, the battle arena. That's going to be epic. But thank you guys all for joining me, and be sure to follow if you joined this. I tend to interview a lot of metaverse builders and Decentraland and Cryptovoxels, Motiverse. Hopefully I'll get into some Sandbox and Salmia Space sometime soon. But thank you guys for being here, and I'll put some, let me find some music here. It'll probably be loud, and thank you guys for hanging out for these last couple hours. And I will also put this up on my YouTube eventually. probably in the next week or so, and this will be up here for about a week, and hope you had fun. Take care, you guys.